This is the Board of County Commissioners meeting. This is Tuesday, October 11th, 2022. It is 2:01 p.m. I'm calling this meeting to order. I'm Carolina Mejia. I'm the chair of the board. To my right is Vice Chair Ty Menser. To my left is Commissioner Gary Edwards. County Manager Ramiro Chavez joining us in the boardroom, as well as Assistant County Manager Robin Campbell and Clerk of the Board Jamie Caldwell. We'll start off our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Commissioner Edwards.
And I, in turn, will ask Mr. Pettit to lead us in the pledge, please. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
With that, Commissioner Menser, would you like to do a land acknowledgement, sir?
Yes, ma'am. We would also like to start today with the land acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge and thank the Indigenous Salish peoples whose elders and ancestors have lived on and cared for the land and waterways of this county since time immemorial and who still inhabit the area today. Specifically the Squaxin Island, Nisqually, and Chehalis people, our sovereign tribal partners. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. The purpose of this acknowledgement is to disrupt ongoing erasure of injustices done and to remember history as a stepping stone towards healing. I also want to make a note that yesterday was Indigenous Peoples Day. We don't have a formal proclamation, but the board wanted to acknowledge that. The event recognizes Native peoples as the first inhabitants of America, so it kind of connects to our land acknowledgement. And I thought I would just quote a portion of the President's proclamation that was released yesterday, emphasizing that we have more to do to help lift tribal communities from the shadow of our broken promises, to protect their right to vote, and to help them access other opportunities that their ancestors were long denied. On Indigenous Peoples Day, we celebrate Indigenous history and our new beginning together, honoring Native Americans for shaping the contours of this country since time immemorial.
Thank you. With that, we'll move on to our next item, which is the approval of the Tuesday, October 11th agenda. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I would move to approve the proposed agenda for Tuesday, October 11th, 2022.
Second.
So moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No, ma'am.
I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menser?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Motion passes. Next is the approval of the board meeting minutes from October 4th.
I move to approve board meeting minutes from October 4th, 2022.
Second.
So moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No, ma'am.
I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menser?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Motion passes. Today we have a presentation from the Auditor's Office and his Cybersecurity Awareness Month proclamation. And is Auditor Hall joining us for this?
I was hoping the Auditor Hall would join us this afternoon, but I don't see her.
Okay. So with that, Commissioner Menser, would you like to read the proclamation?
Sure. Thurston County Proclamation, Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Whereas Thurston County recognizes it has a vital role in identifying, protecting its citizens from, and responding to cyber threats that may have significant impact to our individual and collective security and privacy. And whereas critical infrastructure sectors are increasingly reliant on information systems and technology to support elections, financial services, law and justice, telecommunications, transportation, utilities, public health, and emergency response systems. And whereas the National Institute of Standards and Technology Cybersecurity Framework has been developed as a free resource to help organizations large and small, both public and private, like Thurston County, improve their cybersecurity practices through a practical approach to addressing evolving threats and challenges. And whereas maintaining the security of cyberspace is a shared responsibility in which each of us has a critical role to play, an awareness of computer security essentials will improve the security of information, infrastructure, and economy. And whereas the federal government of the United States of America, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, the Multi-State Information Sharing and Analysis Center, the National Association of State Chief Information Officers, and the National Cybersecurity Alliance all recognize October as National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Citizens are encouraged to visit the website www.stopthinkconnect.org to learn about cybersecurity and to put that knowledge into practice in their homes, schools, workplaces, and businesses. And whereas the Thurston County Auditor's Office, in partnership with the Information Technology Department and the Commissioner's Office, along with representatives from offices and departments across the county, have formed a Thurston County Cybersecurity Forum to bring resources and tools to the county to enhance our cyber awareness, provide training and tools, and increase our security posture to protect critical data and systems, provide essential services to the community we serve. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Board of County Commissioners hereby proclaims Thurston County will stand with the nation in recognizing October as Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and hereby commits to focusing on increasing cybersecurity awareness in Thurston County, adopted this 11th day of October, 2022 by the Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you. Okay, with that will conclude our presentation for today. Next is an opportunity for the public to address the board. There are some guidelines for public comments at the Board of County Commissioners. The Board of Thurston County Commissioners welcomes comments from the public. However, there are some guidelines governing such comments to ensure they are appropriate and do not take advantage of the fact that most meetings are televised. The general speaking guidelines are as follows. Please introduce yourself, including the address you reside in the county. Please address the board, not the audience or staff. Please silence your cell phones for those members in the boardroom. Speakers are limited to a total of 4 minutes to address the board. Meeting attendees cannot donate their speaking time to another person. No comments that are lewd and offensive, inflammatory, hateful, defamatory, or discriminatory in nature. Please be respectful. No outburst of any kind. No comments that are commercial in nature, such as promotion of a for-profit business. All materials provided to the county may be considered public records subject to public release upon request pursuant to the Public Records Act, Chapter 4256 of the RCW. No remarks about pending land use permits or similar matters that could eventually come before the board on appeal, and no electioneering. Thank you so much for your cooperation. With that, I'll go through the sign-up list, and then I will call members who haven't signed up, and then we'll move on to Zoom. First person on the list is John Pettit.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is John Pettit. I live out on Rich Road in East Olympia. And to the republic for which it stands. I don't think you guys have a clue what the republic for which it stands means. It means it stands to protect the rights of the individuals that are protected in the Bill of Rights. Freedom of speech. There is absolutely no provision in state law that says this location should not be open for electioneering. None. I presented you with a letter. There is no election location here. It's an insult. And last week I got to watch a hideous representation of the county manager seeking to disrupt the voice of a veteran who served overseas in war zones to protect these rights, that you want to take them away just by merely saying you can't do that. You can't wear a button. That is hideous and wrong. It is a clear violation of color of law. Unless you have an absolute law to support your spot, you're violating other people's rights. Now, I'm going to get into a couple other things because this particular current situation, I talked about a lack of managing the managers. Well, that lies right upon you, commissioners. And sometimes commissioners are removed because they don't manage the managers. That could happen again even this year. One of the things which is the saddest thing I've seen is to know that currently Thurston County uses the approach of being adversarial and litigious against its citizens. Adversarial and litigious. Intentionally hiding away things from the people taking action so that people don't even know about it. And then if you don't like it, well, you can sue us. Well, I've managed to make sure I go after you. Yes. In my particular case, I go after people that I see are clearly violating the law. I am hopeful that with some change coming over this next election cycle, that we can get somebody that will help manage the managers. Maybe we'll get rid of a couple managers, and then we can take some legal action to go after over $5 million that has been gifted away without even having a procurement policy for our contract. But when you, as commissioners, have allowed this without holding these people accountable, you're part of the problem. $5 million. How are we supposed to think that's okay? It's not. You know, there is no department in this county that can get away with spending $5 million on any project without going through a procurement policy. And I'm going to point this out to you. The people that are supposed to enforce that policy are the ones that are violating it. And you're doing nothing, commissioners, to force that. You're responsible for it. You have a lease on a building you're being really hush-hush about. You're going to try to sneak over there. That lease has never been properly signed. It's invalid. It was signed last October, a year ago. And you know what? It still doesn't qualify. You created millions and millions of dollars of bond debt, but you like to claim that we're financially solvent. You've never been solvent in the last 4 years because you steal money from the road fund. I have lots to talk about. My time's up. I just hope to see some serious change, so maybe we can get some leadership that will manage the managers.
Is Terry Ballard?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name's Terry Ballard. I'm a 35-year veteran, 9 of which went towards active duty and retired here in 2012. I was born in Yakima, Y-A-K-I-M-A, Yakima, Y-A-K-A-M-A, Wapato, Washington. If that's not a sovereign state, I don't know what is. And I continue to be interrupted, discouraged, lied to, you lied to, about me from the city manager. What I gave you from the county manager, I'm sorry, what I gave you is a promotion of a, I don't know what this is, whether it's a profit or a nonprofit organization, in a legal document that 2 of you signed outlining his job. You can't go below anybody to find out if any information is correct or balance the load to information, because he'll get it all for you. Right? Everything is supposed to be legally signed by the prosecuting attorney's office before it gets to you. I have seen him actually have a public meeting on a resolution and have him change that resolution after the public meeting, deleting lines out of it and saying it's okay. It's not okay. Okay? I continue to get buttoned with things like the environment. Let's save the environment. Okay? And we have a person here who is actually on the lot board. And the lot puts 12 million gallons of contaminated effluent into Bud Inlet. A whale died in Bud Inlet. Okay, now we're serving all the lakes and streams like they're ours, and they belong to state, and we're using incorporated money for this, and we're not charging them all that they're charging me for like stormwater. Okay, that's called either discrimination or racism, however you want to put it, okay? I'm tired of paying for state. I'm tired of paying for Capitol Lake. Why are we even into Capitol Lake? That's a state man-made lake. Why are we paying for that? And why are we polluting it? okay? And also what we're doing is we're taking that bio sludge out of the lot farms to include your guys' sewage plants, which, by the way, has the highest rate in the state. You're charging people to use that sewage plant in the highest rate in the whole state of Washington. That's a frickin' shame. And I know you're not using it for stormwater. I know you're not using it to enhance the sewage. You're just transferring it someplace else, because my belief is you've ran totally out of money. You can't survive without a $52 million bond that's going to cost the taxpayers of unincorporated to spend money on all the incorporated cities that should be sharing the burden. Okay? I don't know why you're so discriminatory against unincorporated, because you all live in unincorporated, to include this manager over here. Okay? Why are you charging us, the unincorporated, for people that live in unincorporated cities? Why are you benefiting them with my money? Okay? That is outrageous. You need to clear. You need to resign. Thank you.
Next is Kurt Cleveland.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you, staff, for having me today. I live out Lake Lawrence, 16910 Pleasant Beach Drive. I'm here, before I forget my point, to raise an objection to the funding of the Capitol Lake Estuary Project. I've always believed in the idea of seek first to understand, then to be understood, so I've kept my head down quite a bit since I joined the Lake Management District. Just very quickly about me, I'm a veteran. I flew P-3's anti-submarine warfare planes in the Navy for 6 years. I attended Naval Postgraduate School and got a certificate in aviation safety and safety programs management. It might be a surprise to know that if you study anti-submarine warfare, you study water a lot. Temperature profile, salinity, the way sound travels through it. So I have an interest in water. While I was there, I had a top secret clearance. I was part of the PRP, the Personnel Reliability Program, which tells you that Uncle Sam at least thought I wasn't crazy. Maybe my girlfriend at the time would argue. So I retired from the American Airlines fairly recently, which gave me a chance to join the LMD, put some time into all this, grow a beard, and actually take banjo lessons. You wouldn't know it to look at me, but I played guitar a long time, got paid for it a few times. When I first showed up at the LMD meetings, I thought, this is pretty contentious, and I don't know why. And I figured out why. Okay, and you guys have heard it before. I'm not going to bore you with it. I'm not going to waste your time. But I believe there is a reason the LMD, let me put it another way, I think they have valid complaints. So let's go to this Capitol Lake thing that we're putting money, one reason I brought the clearance, I could have a security clearance, a top secret clearance, and I have interest in a piece of information. And they say, you don't get to know. And I say, I have clearance for that information. And they say, but you have no need to know. You need clearance and you need to know. In other words, you have interest, but it's not your responsibility. It's not your problem. Okay? It's not your problem. Now let's shift to Capitol Lake and LMD. I think the LMDs are much like the jilted bride or groom. We got left at the altar. We found out that our prospective spouse went off and is going to marry somebody else, more attractive, better job description. That's Capitol Lake. And here we are. And there's really nothing we can do about it, as I've sort of figured out. Both situations, the lakes and the Capitol Lake, have been victims of human mistakes. And I'm all for the project, don't get me wrong. Our lakes have been filled with mill, runoff, sawdust, untold cubic yards of stuff. The damage is done. We can't just let nature take its course. We have to manage it. It'll turn into a swamp if we don't do anything, much as you're seeing in Capitol Lake. So I'm going to close. I'm not going to take up all my time. Capitol Lake, from I think our point of view, is not our problem. It's not our responsibility. We have an interest in it, absolutely, absolutely. but it's not our funding issue. Thank you.
Next is Barry Halverson.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, my name is Barry Halverson. I'm from Yelman Lake Lawrence. You all know me. I've been here for a long time. I talked to Commissioner Menzer last night after the town hall. Appreciate you coming out, Commissioner. I've got 3 topics I'm going to talk about today. Capitol Lake Project. I didn't know there was going to be people talking about Capitol Lake Project, but I am also. I'm for it. I agree with the resolution to restore the inlet. I disagree with the funding solution strongly. Thurston County has 0 jurisdictional, regulatory, or statutory interest. That is even stated in the MOU. So why is Thurston County even a participant in this process? They have an interest. Okay. Is it political interest? Is it special interest? Is it cost sharing? If the interlocal agreement, the ILA, is signed and Thurston County is a signatory, it obligates the county for 15.4% of all maintenance cost until 2050, or approximately $2.9 million in today's cost, not calculating for inflation. So over the course of that time, we're looking at about $5 million with inflation. There is no benefit to unincorporated Thurston County residents, but there are huge benefits to the city of Olympia, the Port of Olympia, and the marinas. Thurston County paying 15.4% of cost reduces their cost by approximately 3% each. This is not a good thing for unincorporated Thurston County tax dollars. Dredging Bud Inlet, really? That's what the money's for? Thurston County has dozens of lakes it has jurisdictional and regulatory authority for, but put that money toward them. The county manager stated this morning that no funds were needed until 2025. Then why is there a budget line to take $160,000 from Public Works stormwater utility for this project in 2023 budget? I ask you that directly, Ms. Campbell. And you've got my email, and I would really love a response to that. Okay, to include a copy of the document and who submitted it for the policy request. Thank you. I've got a copy of the MOU here. I've read it from front to back, and that's what I based my testimony on when it talks about that. Again, I support the restoration. I'm a water quality person, as you all 3 know, and I have put my life on establishing lake management districts, but the funding position is totally wrong. Administrative rules, Public Works administrative rules for LMDs. This morning, the county manager stated that Public Works was working on revisions to these rules and they would be proposed to the board at some point. Okay. Why have we not been notified about any meetings on this subject? Are we not the principal stakeholders? We are the ones directly impacted. Where is the transparency? It didn't happen with the first set of rules, and once again, it is not happening. I heard one thing this morning from the county manager about the rules that meshes with what we heard early on. These admin rules were not to apply to Long Lake and Lawrence Lake until they reform as an LMD in 2025, 2026. That's what we heard then, several months ago. Fine, but the bottom line is eventually they will. And we need to address them now, which is why we're addressing them, because you have 2 other LMDs that are forming that Public Works says are going to fall under these rules immediately. And they're wrong. We did a lot of research, commissioners. We gave you a briefing on the 3rd of August that we felt was very in tune with what Public Works wanted to do. I had some other comments. I'll save those for another time. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else in the boardroom like to provide public testimony? With that, we'll go to Zoom. County Manager, can you assist me with this?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will call your name based on the order that I see on my Zoom screen. First, I have Ms. Jessie Simmons.
No comments at this time,
sorry.
sir.
Thank you. Next, I have Ms. Ursula Euler. Go ahead, ma'am.
Good
After
afternoon.
amendments.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, ma'am, go ahead, you have 4 minutes.
Thank you so much. My name is Ursula Euler. I live on Kristen Court Southwest in Thurston County, and I'm here to comment on the proposed mega airport site in Thurston County. I was at the TRPC meeting last Friday and heard that there is a letter being circulated amongst mayors regarding the proposed airport site in Thurston County. I believe this is all that was said. I believe that it is to present a unified voice against aviation expansion. I'm not sure, but certainly to find a unified voice in Thurston County. And you have already expressed yours. This is a letter amongst mayors, city mayors. You have already expressed your view according to the newspaper. So thank you very much for your unified voice against aviation expansion in Thurston County. But today I was hoping to express my wish, even though you are not perhaps in on the letter, but at least to get word out there, that I'm hoping that there will be continued opposition against the expansion, and not just opposition, but also very good reasons given for putting a stop to the continued work of the WSDOT and its expansion group. It's called CAC. I didn't name them, but I will continue to use that acronym. 2 reasons, not the least of which are, and there are many I could name, that I obtained while attending CAC meetings for the last 2 years, but not the least of which the 2 of these reasons are that, and I want to mention those today, are that the CAC has conducted 3 surveys, public surveys, to take opinion poll about aviation expansion. The first survey was structured so that it is statistically valid. The other 2 surveys were online surveys. They call it open house. They were not open houses. They were simply pages on a website with a selection of information and answers the public could give. And those answers then later were summarized weeks later in a report. So it was not an open house with live conversation and attendance. With that said, all of those surveys came back with that the public said no to aviation expansion, or no unless environmental impacts are mitigated. And the no's from survey 1 to survey 3 became stronger and stronger with very insightful reasons and comments. They are really worth reading. Despite of all that feedback from the public, the CAC seems to ignore that and has included information, is including information that is not quite reflecting the result from those surveys. Secondly, the CAC has made, through a vote, a conscious decision to disregard scientific, objective information about negative impacts on public health and equity in airport communities. The result of that, because they voted that down, they took a vote. This was in the middle of last year. They took a vote. They said no, public health.
Your time is up.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
Sorry, I should have given you a warning of 30 seconds. My apologies.
Yeah, my apologies. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, I have Mr. Tony Wilson. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. My name is Tony Wilson. I live in the Tumwater urban growth boundary south of the airport. I was able to attend the HCP hearing virtually last week, but I didn't have enough of an understanding of the issues to comment at that time. I noted that there are folks who were there to comment on the HCP update itself, and some who were complaining about how they'd been treated by DFW over several years. I really have compassion for the struggle of the folks that have tried to deal with DFW about pocket gophers on their sites for the last 10 plus years. We really have to do better for our citizens, and with this proposal, we have an opportunity to do so. That's why I support it. I read the RCW that was quoted in that meeting and the state constitution, Article 1, Section 16, the economic analysis that was completed in April with the participation of Randy Weaver and a couple of builders. Now, I sent all this to the commissioners today, including a link to that economic analysis, which was pretty promising and had some people from South County that would know involved. So I like that. Finally, I called a person at the county about how this really works. First, the constitutional element doesn't apply, and this is not from the county. This is my own evaluation. This is a voluntary agreement between individual property owners and Thurston County. No one is forced to adopt this and is free to work with DFW if they would rather do that. The RCW is also a little sketchy in its reference because this type of regulatory action is envisioned in that law. Note as well that there's also a stipulation in the HCP that only that portion of a property that will be disturbed is subject to the impact fee for takings, not the entire parcel. That seems to be a huge misunderstanding by some who are at the hearing. I also reviewed the federal DFW information on the history of the pocket gopher in this state, California, and Oregon, and discovered that DFW has no choice in this matter. It's required by a settlement of a legal action. After becoming familiar with all this, I used the very simple form on the website and the reference maps of the subspecies to compare several potential projects in several different gopher habitat zones. My opinion is that the form that produces an estimate of mitigation cost for a particular parcel can be completed by anyone that can fill out a driver's license form and in about 5 minutes. Reviewing the habitat maps and the form produces these estimates that I made. In Yelm East, you have 5 acres, 3,000 square foot, 2-story home site with a driveway, a septic, and a well. 4,000 square feet overall. The permit cost for taking would be $2,600 under the county's plan. That's an estimate. These are all estimates. Yelm North, 5 acres, septic system only, 1,200 square feet, $900. And that's 60 feet from the house to the septic and the distribution lines and all of that. About $900 for a permit to take gophers from that site. Yelm South, 5 acres, a barn with a paddock, cement floor, 100 square feet. Or 100 by 100, 10,000 square feet with no water supply, $5,380, $5,380. In the Tenino pocket gopher
30
habitat,
seconds, sir, 30 seconds.
and the numbers go on. The only one that I saw that was $400,000 was for 5 acres where you're going to build 25 homes. And the cost actually comes down to about 3% of each house if you use the whole 5 acres based on the median price in Thurston County right now. I support this. I think we all should. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, I have Ms. Diane Perlman. Go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you. I don't have a comment today. Thank you.
Thank you. Next and last that I have in my list is Mr. Johanna. Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry, your connection was a little bit off. Would you like to provide testimony or not?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I believe that will conclude public testimony, Madam Chair.
Staff.
Staff.
Okay, with that, we'll move on to county manager's update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to follow up an update to Mr. Harverson's testimony, I did reach out to Public Works, and I should have a revised administrative rules by the end of next week, and I will be presenting that to the board as soon as feasible. And I have a couple of updates, and this is related to follow-up to the public testimony received last week from Mr. Alexander Mesmer. And he outlined the need for assistance related to a senior disabled property tax exemption. And he outlined a couple of elements related to that particular exemption. I have been following up with the county assessor's office, And staff from the assessor's office has already reached out to Mr. Mesmer as to how they can help him through this process. So that connection has been made. Next, I have an update related to Public Works. As the board is aware, every year during May, which is the American Public Works Association Week, there is a competition also known as the rodeo. That will be ROAD, rodeo, where Public Works staff test the skills to handle heavy equipment and with a specific course and requirements. The result of that friendly competition is the winners of that event here in Public Works will move into the state competition. That state competition happened last week during the American Public Works Association Washington State Chapters Conference in Spokane. And I'm happy to report that Fritz Bierley took the first place in the loader competition. And also Tyson Knoll was awarded the first place overall in the overall competitions. The result of that, those two Public Works staff members will move into the national competition. And I don't have the dates as to when that will be, but I believe it's sometime in the spring of next year. And that's what I have for you today. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, commissioners, any questions?
No questions at this time.
No.
Questions? I guess I will lay out there in terms of the letter that's going around to the mayors that that letter was initiated by the Thurston County Board of Commissioners. And this is a way to partner with all of the jurisdictions. And once we receive the letter signed from the other jurisdictions, we will be sending it to Thurston County legislators to let them know our opposition towards this. So.
Thank you.
Moving on to our next item on our agenda, which is item 3, consent items 3A through 3F. Is there, there's been new additions to the consent agenda, and County Manager, do you want to review the
Yeah,
new
thank you,
items?
Madam Chair. The result of the conversation you had this morning while you reviewed the agenda for this afternoon, you added a couple of more items. Let me walk you through the items that have been added to your consent agenda this afternoon. One is for consider appointment of Mr. Darren Bodig as to the Commissioner number 1 of Scott Lake Drainage District number 11. And I believe that is expiration date 2026. Also, the appointment of Ms. Andrea Levanti to the RE Tourism Advisory Committee for a 1-year term expiring October 11, 2023. And also the appointment of Mr. Larry Mahan to the Fair Board for a 2-year term with an expiration date of October 11, 2024. Those are the 3 items that were added as a result of your conversation this morning.
Thank you. Commissioners, would you like to remove an item from the consent agenda?
No, ma'am.
Okay, with that, I'm ready for a motion.
I move to approve consent items 3A through 3F.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. This is a non-debatable motion, so I will call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Mentzer?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Consent items pass. We'll move to department items. First one from Community Planning and Economic Development, item 4A, set a public hearing on docket item A24, Emergency Housing Ordinance Code Update. And Leah Davis, Associate Planner, will report on this item.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for your time today. So I'm here to request that the board set a public hearing for November 8th, 2022 at 3:30 p.m. or soon thereafter. The hearing is to take public comment on Development Code Docket Item A24, Emergency Housing Ordinance Permitting Criteria Flexibility. This is a county-initiated proposal that considers making the interim regulations permanent. The code would provide for a waiver of some requirements for homeless encampments during a public health crisis as declared by the Board of County Commissioners or the Board of Health. Proposed amendments make some additional changes to the interim regulations. The changes clarify application and permitting procedures. The proposed amendments would affect Titles 20, 21, 22, and 23. That is the rural county and the North County urban growth areas. That's everything.
Thank you. Any questions, Commissioner Edwards?
Yes. Has there been any change at all to this to require any type of residency issues or prioritizing those that may live here?
No, as a land use ordinance, it does not contain that type of regulation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Menzer?
No questions.
No questions for me as well. I'm ready for a motion.
I move to set a public hearing on docket item A24, Emergency Housing Ordinance Code Update for November 8th, 2022 at 3:30 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter may be heard.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, sir.
My concern with this ordinance is that it does not prioritize our own community residents that may have fallen on hard times and try and give them the benefit of possibly paying taxes here for years, and they don't get recognized for that contribution. So that is my objection to this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I guess my discussion item is just thanking staff and then also thanking the Planning Commission. I know that they had some recommendations which I thought were really good recommendations, and so thanking them for their hard work on this. With that, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Nay.
Commissioner Menzer?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye.
Thank you.
Next is Public Health and Social Services, item 5A, approval of amendment number 7 to the Washington State Department of Health 2022 through 2024 consolidated contract number CLH 31030.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Kurt Harden, Interim Director for Public Health and Social Services. I'm here requesting that the Board of County Commissioners approve Amendment 7 to the State of Washington Department of Health Consolidated Contract, also known as the CONCON, contract number CLH 31030. This amendment decreases the contract amount by $992,039 for a total contract amount of $11,001,017. The amendment provides a technical correction by the Department of Health on funding. Public Health and Social Services was informed on the correction early on, and all the grant projections for the budget and for the 1- and 10-year financial plans are incorporated this adjustment already. The Board of County Commissioners approved the base contract on January 11th, Amendment 1 on March 15th, Amendments 2 and 3 on April 26th, and Amendment 4 on June 7th, Amendment 5 on July 26th, and Amendment 6 on August 30th. The Department of Health will continue to send additional amendments for scope of work and funding to the county. This contract is the mechanism used to transmit federal and state funding for public health services to the county through December 31st, 2024. Subject to your questions, I request the board approve the amendment and authorize the Interim Director of Public Health and Social Services to sign the amendment and future amendments that do not exceed 10%.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
I guess I would just ask, this is a technicality to correct a shortfall that was listed as income, is that, or?
No, it's a technicality to correct that some of the language made it appear that we had a double entry onto the contract, and we always knew how much money we were getting, and Department of Health wanted to make sure we knew how much money we were getting. So it's a technical correction.
Thank you.
Commissioner Menzer, questions?
No questions.
No questions for me. Thank you, Kurt. I'm ready for a motion.
I move to approve Amendment number 7 to the State of Washington Department of Health Consolidated Contract number CLH 31030, which decreases funding by $992,039 for a revised maximum consideration of $11,001,017 for the duration of January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2024, and authorize the Interim Director of Public Health and Social Services to sign the amendment.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No, ma'am.
Call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Item 5B is the approval of amendment number 8 to the Washington State Department of Health 2022 through 2024 Consolidated Contract number CLH 31030.
And again, Kurt Harden, Interim Director for Public Health and Social Services, requesting that the Board of County Commissioners approve Amendment 8 to the State of Washington Department of Health Consolidated Contract number CLH 31030. This amendment does not change the contract amount, and the total amount remains $11,001,017. The amendment adjusts the funding source for COVID-19 expenditures, which includes vaccination. The Board of County Commissioners approved the base contract on January 11th, Amendment 1 on March 15th, Amendments 2 and 3 on April 26th, Amendment 4 on June 7th, Amendment 5 on July 26th, Amendment 6 on August 30th, and Amendment 7 just moments ago. The Department of Health will continue to send additional amendments for scope of work and funding. This contract, as I noted before, is the mechanism used to transmit federal and state funding for public health and services to the county through December 31st, 2024. Subject to your questions, I request the Board of County Commissioners approve the amendment and authorize the Interim Director of Public Health and Social Services to sign the amendment and future amendments that do not exceed 10%.
Questions? Commissioner Edwards.
Kurt, could you clarify that this has nothing to do with the mandates for vaccinations?
Correct. It has nothing to do with the mandates that expire at the end of this month. It is solely for funding for COVID-19 costs.
Thank you.
Questions? Commissioner Menzer. I'm ready for a motion.
Move to approve amendment number 8 to the State of Washington Department of Health Consolidated Contract CLH 31030, amending the statement of work for the COVID-19 mass vaccination program with no change in maximum consideration of $11,001,017 for the duration of January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2024, and authorize the Interim Director of Public Health and Social Services to sign the amendment.
Second.
So moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No, ma'am.
I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. That will conclude our department items. Item 6A, Commissioners will report on board work sessions and assigned committee meetings, providing updates on actions taken as well as upcoming issues. Commissioner Edwards, we will start with you, sir.
The only thing that I'm going to report on today, because we were kept pretty busy last week by financial folks, and I did attend on last Saturday, Heritage Day, for Thurston County 170th birthday out at the fairgrounds. That was my only outside attendance, if you will, for that week. Although there was a lot of constituent issues involving the Hopkins ditch and contract issues and HCP discussions. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Menzer?
So attended the Innovative Justice meeting, attended the Olympia Education Foundation event, attended a couple of meetings with constituents, but one related to an energy project that's been proposed in my district, another with some stakeholders about closing gaps in our mental health system, working with our prosecuting attorney and the TMBHASO. So that and a whole bunch of community events related to the upcoming election was my week.
Thank you. I attended Nat and Telma Jackson's Mosaic and Goose Pond Historic Marker dedication. It was after a long hearing, so I was able to make the tail end of that event. I also attended the intercity board meeting, and I wanted to invite commissioners. The grand opening of Intercity's new building is going to be on November 10th, 2022, and it's from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. So I know that was something that Commissioner Menzer, you had asked me about before, so I just wanted to extend that invitation. This weekend, I missed Commissioner Edwards, but I attended the Heritage Day 170th birthday. I made it right towards the tail end too. But I got to see the different things that our Historic Commission is working on, and I just want to really thank them because they're doing great work, and it was a great event. I also whole little things, and they reached their goal of having over 500 people go and go through their event. I know they had an apple cider machine, and that was busy all day. I attended Indigenous Peoples Day that was held at Squaxin Park yesterday, and it was a really nice event held between the City of Olympia as well as Squaxin Tribe. Also, we had the professor for our intern come and visit us, and so, and I also attended the Regional Housing Council executive meeting, and items on the agenda were reported this morning at our agenda setting if anyone's interested. That would conclude, I had several meetings with different constituents, airport being the biggest one for me. I've received a lot of comments about that and a lot of concerns from members of the public. With that, we'll move on to item 6B. The county manager will review the Board of County Commissioners schedule for the week of October 11th, 2022.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Today, starting at 3:30, you have your Board of Health meeting. That is a special meeting. And this is, I believe, is a pivotal way as to how the new Board of Health meeting will be, since the new 7 members will meet for the first time. And as an agenda has been posted, and if the public really would like to tune in, we will have a different Zoom meeting as well as a different live stream. And I will encourage the public to watch that meeting because I believe that is going to be pivotal as to how the Board of Health will move forward into the future. Also, you have been invited this afternoon, October 11th, to participate at 5 in the afternoon to the grand opening of the South Puget Sound Community College Bowen Center for Health Education. And that is going to be located at 2011 Madman Road Southeast here in Olympia. Moving on to Wednesday, October 12th, at noon, you have your standing Board of County Commissioners and elected officials meeting. In the afternoon tomorrow, October 12th, you have a briefing related to the wireless communication facilities. That is docket item 819. Follow 1:30 by post briefing of the Development Code docket 827, the non-conforming code uses of the critical area ordinance. And 2 in the afternoon tomorrow, you have a briefing from the Thurston County Sheriff's Office related to jail booking and jail restrictions. Thursday, October 13th, 9 in the morning, you have a briefing related to the Capital Improvement Program annual update. At 9:30, you have a briefing related to the home share presentation, followed by 10 in the morning to your regular commissioners check-in. You have a follow-up to the public hearing related to the Development Code docket 8A related to the Habitat Conservation Plan Implementation Ordinance. Friday, October 14th at 6 in the afternoon, you have been invited to participate on the Evergreen State College Foundation reception. And that is going to be located in 604 Water Street Southwest in Olympia. Saturday, October 15th, you have been invited to participate on 2 events. One at 5 in the afternoon, that is the Big Brothers Big Sisters of Southwest Washington Big Auction, and that is going to be located in Little Creek Casino, 91 West State Route 108 in Shelton. And at 5:30, you have been invited to participate on the Senior Services of South Sound fundraiser, and that is going to be located on the Olympia Center, 222 Columbia Street, Northwest in Olympia. Moving on to next week, on Monday, October 17th, you have your standing meeting with the Washington State Association of Counties at noon. Then you will convene back here on Tuesday, October 18th, 9 in the morning for your regular agenda setting. Follow in the afternoon at 2 o'clock, the Board of County Commissioners meeting. And at 3:30, you have a public hearing related to the option to suspend the operations of the Hopkins Drainage District. That's all I have for you. Any questions?
Robin, you have your hand up?
Not regarding the schedule, Madam Chair, but if I may have a moment, whenever you're ready.
Okay, I'll just announce that, I'm not sure if this is on the master, but there's a costume parade and Tumstoon class, and this is for the BoCC events. And so if anyone would like to dress up and attend, that starts it's from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. And yeah,
Which event?
it's a costume contest at BoCC.
Oh, for
Is that the
BoCC.
BoCC.
BoCC?
BoCC, yes.
One quick correction, the county manager, you mentioned, and this was not your fault because I had the same thing down, but this event today for the SPSCC is actually taking place at 2421 Heritage Court, not Mottman.
Thank you.
New building.
You're right, it's the Heritage Court here around the road.
Yep.
I have the wrong address on the agenda. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
And the public may want to be interested in the Squaxin Park on Saturday, Conservation District event for Orca Recovery Day. So that'll be 10 to 2.
Thank you. Okay, Robin?
Thank you, Commissioner. If I may follow up on testimony you heard this afternoon from Mr. Halverson, I have delivered to him a copy of the budget request that was entered for the contribution toward the estuary project. And I would just like to clarify that there is no funding in a current budget approved to pay toward the estuary. The entry is in the preliminary budget that was submitted to the board for your consideration. And if anyone is interested in watching the budget review last week, I believe it was Thursday morning when this item came up, but I can find the specific day and time where we discussed that this payment would not be due if the board approves it until 2025. We'll be removing it from the final budget that is adopted in December. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Mr. Halverson, does that?
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
It just didn't make sense.
Thank you. Okay, with that, it is 2:58 p.m. We have a Board of Health meeting starting at 3:30 p.m. I invite members of the public to attend because they will be with our new Board of Health members. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you all very much.